Okay, so a couple of people have emailed me asking questions about the domain and the range of different graphs. So I thought I'd pop into Desmos and give you guys a few examples. We have just a simple straight line, y equals 2x minus 1. We can see that if we scroll out, the domain and the range are both from negative infinity to positive infinity. So if this was the case, open a new document. If this is the case, we would go okay. Okay, so here we would say that the domain is that x is every number between negative infinity and positive infinity, as is the range. Okay, so the domain is there's an x for every value between negative infinity and positive infinity, and for the range there's a y value from negative infinity to positive infinity, and that's what we see here. Let's kill that, and instead let's make a quadratic. X squared minus 4. Okay, x squared minus 4. So if we scroll out, you can see that the domain is going to go from negative infinity to positive infinity because it keeps going out. It's quite steep, so it's going to take a long while to get far out this way, but it's still going there. So for this, y equals 2x minus 1. And for y equals x squared minus 4, was it 4? 4, yep. The domain is still, hang on a second, I'll just do it so I can have both on the same screen. Give me a second. There we go. This way I don't have to keep flipping between screens. Domain is the exact same, because x is going from negative infinity to positive infinity. However, the range, at no point for x squared minus 4 will y get down here, because this is the minimum here. So for the range, y is greater than or equal to 4, because y can't be negative 4, sorry. Y can't be negative 5, y can't be negative 10, because the graph does not go below this point. However, the graph goes quite happily up to positive infinity. But the lowest point this graph will ever reach is negative 4, which is why the range is from negative 4 up into infinity. Now, later this term we're going to be looking at some more complex functions. I'll just give an example here. Okay, so what I told you before was that at no point can the denominator of a fraction be 0. Okay? So here, if x is 0, then 1 over x just goes crazy. Okay, so if x is 0, then I'll get rid of the plus 2. Plus 2 is not relevant here. If x becomes 0, then y can't be defined, and that's what we see here. We'll go into more depth with this later in the term. But what we can say here for y equals 1 over x, okay, so we can say here that a domain is negative infinity all the way up, but it's greater than 0. We won't reach 0. Because if we reach 0, this becomes infinity. That's not real. Or, sorry, positive, negative infinity. It's not defined. And once we go above 0, it goes out to infinity again, but it cannot be 0. So that's just defining the domain of that. And the range is the same. Approaches 0, but never reaches 0. Now, in the example I gave you, was it x plus 4? Yes, it was. With the example I gave you, you can see here that if x is negative 4, then the square root of negative 4 plus 4 is 0. Okay? So that's fine. But as soon as x becomes negative 4.1, that becomes the square root of negative 0.1. It becomes imaginary and therefore can't be defined. So with this, the domain has to be x is equal to or greater than negative 4. Because those are the only points where y can be real. And because we have just a square root here, you can not have a negative square root. So it doesn't matter what you square root, you will never get the answer being negative, which makes sense because if you have I just go here, 1 times 1 equals 1, so that's 1 squared. Negative 1 times negative 1, that's negative 1 squared, still 1. Okay, at no point can you actually do this and get a negative. Okay, so let's get a few more examples. We could do x equals y squared, take 4 plus 4. Okay, so you'll see here this isn't a function, but you can see that the domain stops at 4. Okay, but this isn't a function here. I will recommend that actually, you know what, I'll just go away. Lesson 2, Year 9, let's go to Add Maths. Course documents, term 2. I would really strongly suggest if you're still having any issues, how long is this video? Ooh, that's a bit long. Have a look at this. Okay, so this is the interactive textbook. It goes through the domain and the range of a function. Have a look through these, press start here, and have a go through this. Okay, so if you watch this video, you go through this and you're still having trouble, let me know. But at this, I think if you can go through that, you'll be fine.